wanting to make Batman into a cop, while also having inadvertently adopted Dick Grayson, voiced by Michael Cera. While comical in nature, like the first Lego movie, it actually nailed Batman, who pushes away Robin and Batgirl out of fear of losing them, like his parents, while Joker's obsession for Batman to consider him his arch enemy mirrors the comics. It helps it does make fun of Batman's more colorful villains, from Polka Dot Man to King Tut, for which the Joker says if you don't believe they're Batman villains, look them up. I have, they're real. It ended up being a huge success at $312 million worldwide, like the Lego movie, though also like its predecessor, The Dark Knight, was denied a nomination for Best Animated Movie at the Oscars. Batman just cannot get any respect from the Academy. Warner Brothers still wanted to get Batman back into live action, though, and after the immense success of the Avengers and the MCU movies in general, the studio felt it was time to start their own shared cinematic universe, the DCEU, short for DC Entertainment Universe. It began with Man of Steel in 2013, which opened to so-so reviews but solid box office. Then at San Diego Comic-Con that same year, it was announced that the sequel would be Batman v Superman. When Zack Snyder, the director of Man of Steel, had the actor Henry Lennox read from The Dark Knight Returns when Batman beats Superman before showing the bat symbol overlaid over Superman's. While Christian Bale had stated he would like to play Batman again, he wasn't interested in being in a movie that was not exclusively about him, and Warner Brothers never approached him anyway. Instead, they cast Ben Affleck, who received a reluctant response not only from fans but also himself, who after the disappointing 2003 Daredevil felt he was done playing superheroes. Nevertheless, he took on the role, and when Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice premiered on March 25, 2016, fans and critics alike considered him the best part of the movie, if not the best live-action Batman ever, balancing both Bruce Wayne and the Dark Knight aspects perfectly. Playing Batman as being obsessed with taking down Superman, who he felt was a threat after the destruction of Metropolis and Gotham City, who in the film are now sister cities that live right next to each other, similar to Minneapolis and St. Paul in real life. In an inspired move, it's revealed that Batman has been around for 20 years before Superman even showed up, with his personality shaped by years of fighting crime and losing his ward, Robin, to the Joker, though the film never confirms which version it was. However, Batman is seen arranging for the deaths of criminals and outright killing them himself, with many joking, Affleck makes a great Batman. Unfortunately, he's playing the Punisher in this movie. Granted, this was true of the earlier Batman, but when questioned by fans why Batman kills, Zack Snyder claimed inspiration for The Dark Knight Returns, where he said he's seen killing left and right in the comic. Sorry, Mr. Snyder, but if there's one comic book that Batman fans have read, it's that one, and we have yet to find where he kills anybody in it. Plus, when it makes even less sense when it's revealed that in the Suicide Squad movie that came out later that year, if the Joker is still alive. And if, as any Batman fan will tell you, if he starts killing, that clown is going to be at the top of his list. This was part of the overall problem with the film, which was considered too dark with a haphazard plot that made no sense. It tried to have The Dark Knight Returns and the Death of Superman in it altogether. The action scenes were well done, though many noticed that one sequence in which Batman takes out multiple criminals at one time looked ripped straight out of the video game Batman Arkham Asylum. This, paired with Flash's armored look in the 2017 Justice League movie, quickly led many to accuse Zack Snyder of copying the video games over comic books, which he has since confirmed. Overall, the film met with negative responses from fans and critics alike, despite eventually grossing $873 million worldwide. It was enough to encourage Warner Brothers to continue with the DCEU, as Justice League was immediately went into production, while Ben Affleck would cameo in Suicide Squad later that year. Plus, Affleck was signed to write, produce, and possibly direct his own Batman film called The Batman. Unfortunately, pre-production of that film has been harried, with Affleck eventually dropping out of directing, being replaced by Matt Reeves, director of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, who has since begun writing his own screenplay. Now, with the release of Justice League to disappointing box office, having only grossed $657 million worldwide in 2017, the entire DCEU line is up in the air, with Affleck reportedly ready to leave the franchise altogether. One nice thing that did come out of the Batman v Superman was that Bill Finger was finally given on-screen credit for co-creating Batman, as part of a larger deal with the Finger family made with DC. That also saw him finally receiving credits in the comics as well, beginning with Batman and Robin Eternal, number 3, and Batman Arkham Knight Genesis, number 3, on October 2015. About time, Mr. Finger. Back on TV, a new show was launched when Gotham premiered on Fox on September 22nd, 2014, which began with the killing of Thomas and Martha Wayne, with Detective Jim Gordon assigned to solve the murder. David Mazouz was cast as a young Bruce Wayne, with Ben McKenzie as Gordon and Donald Long as his partner Harvey Bullock. The show was touted as seeing the origin of not just Batman but many of his villains, with the highlight being Robin Lord Taylor as Oswald Cobblepot, the future Penguin, who begins as a criminal henchman slowly rising his way through the ranks. The first season, unfortunately, was marred by a disjointed story and unlikable characters. Jada Pinkett Smith's Fish Manoni was a prime example, and the showrunner Bruno Heller proclaiming that superheroes don't work on TV. A strange assertion since they've literally been doing it for decades, including the current studios on CW. Nevertheless, the show has since found its footing, essentially using the Batman concept to form its own continuity. On October 10th, 2016, Batman, The Return of the Caped Crusaders was released. An animated movie in the style of the 1960s show, voiced by Adam West, Burt Ward, and Julie Newmar, returning to the respective characters of Batman, Robin, and Catwoman. A campy tribute to the old show, it was a critical hit and a solid success on Blu-ray and DVD, showing that while the show isn't considered the definitive Batman, it has since gained the fondness with many, including myself, to be honest. Back in the comics, Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's run on Batman would continue to issue number 52, which would end with Bruce Wayne reclaiming the mantle of Batman after losing his memory, with Jim Gordon having taken over with the aid of an armored batsuit that honestly looked more like an animated bunny. Snyder and Capullo would move on then to the event Dark Knight's Metal miniseries in 2017, in which the Dark multiverse, led by the Dark God Barbados, invades the world with several twisted versions of Batman, from Green Lantern to the Flash. Each dark version got his own one-shot, the highlight being Batman, the Batman Who Laughs, a Batman from a universe where the Joker has infected him and turning him into a creepy Batman-Joker hybrid. It is truly the stuff of nightmares. Of course, the heroes would be triumphant, but only with Batman telling his fellow Justice League at the end that defeating Barbados that they had now left the world vulnerable to unknown threats. Back in the regular series, Batman's world has since started to look up as he proposed marriage to Catwoman Selina Kyle on Batman number 24 in 2017, to which she will eventually say yes to in issue number 32. In a nice touch, it's revealed that the diamond Batman uses for the ring was the one that Catwoman originally stole back when they first met. After returning it to the jeweler, he went back and bought it as Bruce Wayne. According to Tom King, this will happen and stick, and one can hope, as Batman could use some cheerful news. Plus, all fans know Batman and Catwoman belong together. Well, that is the history of Batman so far. Of course, he has evolved greatly from his first appearance back in 1938 and has since become one of the greatest characters in fiction and comics in general. Like most characters of this nature, he has long outlived his creators Bob Kane and Bill Finger, along with many others, and will likely go on for decades if not centuries afterwards, dwelling all with tales of the Dark Knight Detective. Simply put, he's Batman. I once again want to thank my chief source for this episode and all episodes involving this subject, which is The Caped Crusader by Glennon Weldon, an excellent book covering the history of Batman and his fandom from the beginning. Check it out wherever books are sold. And now is August 9th, 2018. Time for some reviews. Favorite comic book of the week? Fantastic Four, number 1, by Dan Slott and Sarah Pichelli, which finds Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm finally dealing with the fact that Reed and Sue Richards, along with their kids, are probably never coming back, with Ben Grimm finally making a long-term personal decision that's been well overdue. Dan Slott does a great job establishing where the Marvelverse is, with Reed and Sue Storm still missing all this time, and also showing some nice personal improvement, along with highlighting a long unknown but funny talent that Johnny Storm has. Sarah Pichelli's art is nicely detailed and cartoony, but it doesn't give her quite much to do, as this issue is really more non-action, just establishing the setup for the next issue. But overall, a nice solid debut, and along with the backup story that shows that when the Fantastic Four do reunite, it's not going to be on very peaceful terms. Overall, great beginning by Dan Slott and Sarah Pichelli, and worth checking out. Can't wait to see what comes next. As for that, next week we're going to moving on to the biography of Will Eisner, who many consider to be the godfather of comic books. Thank you for listening, and go out and enjoy yourself a good comic book.